Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's our favorite time of the week. We got cool new knives that hit our shelves every single day, and these are the latest. Let's check them out. All right, starting things off this week with a big one, both literally and figuratively. This is the V44X Marine Buoy from Work Tough Gear in a KnifeCenter exclusive black and orange G10 handle with green liners. And come on, this is such a cool knife. Glad to have them back in stock and now as an exclusive version as well. Doesn't get much cooler than that. Price on these is about $259, and for that you're getting a very well finished large Bowie knife blade, 10 inches long in fact, with that very kind of Marine Raider inspired shape to it. K329 steel on this knife as well, which has very good toughness and really pretty good edge retention as well. Not powder metal levels of edge retention, of course, but this is a knife meant to be bashed and thrashed, etc. So the toughness is really the first amongst the considerations or characteristics you want on a knife like this. It's not stainless either, so make sure to keep it clean and or oiled. The geometry of the grind is flat. Some might call that a saber grind, and a really highly refined convex edge is something we love to see from the boys over there at the Work Tough shop, and they did a good job as always right here. The spine of the knife is also crisp enough to throw sparks or scrape stuff for tinder, but in order to save your thumbs a little bit, the thumb area where you might push your thumb, I should say, is chamfered to remove that crisp edge, so it's not going to dig in. You do have a finger choil in which you can choke up, get closer behind the edge, balance things out for small work, and what I like is that the edge itself does not go through that finger choil, so you've got an added degree of security because of that. Handles feel great. Not super thick despite the size, but contoured nicely, and you've got a diamond-like texture on top of the G10, meaning it's going to be hard for this to slip out of your grip, and a nice flare at the back furthers that characteristic as well. Rounding things out on the knife itself, you got a hidden lanyard point, and let's talk about the stuff that comes with the knife, because Work Tough never disappoints. Got the box right here, in fact. We have a sheath. Biggest sheath you ever did see. It comes with multiple attachment options. You've got a shoulder strap, if you'd like to carry it that way, with some rings to attach to the Kydex sheath. You've also got a belt carry option if you'd prefer. Just make sure you got a good belt to go along with it, because that's a lot to strap onto a belt. But the attachment hardware is it's unbranded, but it follows the same hole pattern as your standard tech lock. So there's versatility right there. Also in the box is another little Kydex add-on here. Looks to me like a Bic lighter holder. You could strap that or bolt that to the sheath, and some patches and rags and patches and stickers, to go along with it as well. Amazing package. Quality is excellent as always from Work Tough Gear, and you can only get this version of this knife right here. Next up is a new version of the Cold Steel Recon folder. The Recon M1 looks the same as the standard Recon, except for that M1 marking right here, but turn it around. You see another marking that's important. MagnaCut blade steel. It's the first cold steel knife with MagnaCut blade steel, and this is a classic to have introduced that material. For those not in the know, I'll run through it real quick. MagnaCut is very tough, very stainless, and holds an edge very, very well indeed. Each of those three pillars ranked very highly with this steel. Other steels can outcompete MagnaCut in one or two areas, but in terms of holding up all three in high marks, MagnaCut still pretty much stands alone these days. You're going to pay for it a little bit on this knife compared to the standard Recon one, however, or standard Recon series, however, $270 with that MagnaCut steel, 4-inch clip point blade, higher flat grind, black finish, not because MagnaCut needs it to remain stainless, but a nod to the classic Recon series. G10 handles, nice amount of texture without being too aggressive. You've got the triad lock here, which is insanely strong we'll just call it an insanely strong variant of the backlock style knife, and a pocket clip here. Not reversible, but the other side is drilled, so I haven't checked, but I'm sure there's a second pocket clip in the package for left-hand carry, which is great because this is a knife that is well suited to either side. It's also well suited to a lot of different tasks, although I'd say it primarily leans tactical in its nature and design. You could press this into all kinds of EDC. It's not so thick, it's not gonna slice terribly unwell. It's thin enough that it's gonna slice well enough. That might be more easy to understand than what I just said.
I'm lost.
Well, you know, that's fine. And you can even choke up, get your index finger around the leading edge of the handle scale and the ricasso of the blade right here. You can do even bushcrafty and camping type stuff with it if you wish. A lot you can do, premium material, first time ever on a cold steel. Unless I got that wrong, in which case it's not the first time ever on a cold steel. I can't think of anything else. Speaking of MagnaCut, however, new Benchmade's dropping today. Actually, the same price, or 1 cent more than the cold steel we just looked at $270 even. Cold steel is $269.99 right now. The Dacian from Benchmade coming in at $270 as mentioned, or there's another version at $288 that comes with a Cerakoted blade option. I prefer this version right here, however, because I like a stonewashed finish, because that finish is going to hide scratches as you use the knife, so it's going to look better longer, in my opinion. And I think it pairs nicely with this blue denim micarta right here, especially with these accenting colors that make it look kind of like the snaps on a pair of blue jeans. Pretty cool combo. Blade itself is just over 3.5 inches long. Nice geometry for daily slicing, very acute tip for piercing, and you know, I do have slightly larger than average hands, so I don't fit perfectly in this handle here from the finger guard to where it upturns at the back, but it's not super uncomfortable actually bridging that gap with my pinky finger. And the way I would hold this knife, it actually wouldn't get in the way too much for me personally. Your mileage, of course, may vary, but this is a great EDC hard-working fixed blade right now, or right here. It comes with a sheath. They're billing this as a pocket carryable knife, and it certainly is. It's molded material with this pocket clip right here. It has a bit of a J-style hook there at the bottom. And yes, that amount will fit in your pocket and should fit pretty nicely. It tapers down, so it takes up less and less room as it goes down, meaning your pockets will be less cramped. If anything else is sharing a pocket with this. The caveat with this as a pocket fixed blade, though, is a lot of that, a good 2/5 of that at least, of the package when it is sheathed will be sticking out above your pocket. If that does not bother you, that won't be an issue, however. As far as other carry options besides in the pocket, this is a fully ambidextrous sheath, so it'll work either side, and it can also be made to work either inside the waistband as a more concealed option, or outside the waistband, simply clipped to your belt. That J-style hook there should help it accidentally sliding off if you are worried about that. Pretty cool package. Check them out right now. They're dropping today, actually. So earlier today, they're available. Full jimping along the spine. Didn't mention that yet either. So lots of extra control surfaces for the fine-tuned stuff. If you would like an EDC fixed blade, but you want something much smaller, more manageable, the Sencut Ostapel designed TEXO with this small Wharncliffe style blade could be a good option for you. It comes in just under $30 right now. What you get steel-wise is a 9CR series, so roughly along the lines of 440C, just about 2 inches in length, plenty of jimping there for multiple control options. I really like the idea of using this as a very precise scoring implement with that tip there, using the jimping with your index finger, and a pretty cool kind of twisted handle milling pattern going on. It's not actually twisted, it's just milled to look like it. Has a pretty cool effect, I would say. You've got a box braid here at the back to extend your grip if you are a little worried about it being too small. For me, it's about, without using that braid at the back, it's about 2.5 fingers for me, but my fingers are, or hands are slightly larger than average. Your mileage, of course, may vary. Extra jimping on the frame to give you some traction as well, which is appreciated. Sheath, actually didn't take it out of its little package, but it's very simple and Kydex. It's set up for neck carry, or sorry, it is intended, I believe, for neck carry. It just comes with a ball chain for carrying it that way. If you want some aftermarket options, you may have to drill some extra holes if you want to do like a belt attachment or something like that. So Sencut, of course, is the super budget subsidiary to We Knife Company and the mid-tier budget CIVIVI company. So we've got more We and CIVIVI to take a look at. The first is the We Knife Company Ezinta, an integral frame lock flipper, coming in about $412 and a little bit more change than that. And depending on which version you get, the price can go up from there. There's some different finish options, and there's a fancy Damasteel version coming in at significantly more, about $725, with a crazier handle finish as well. But this one right here, $412 and some change. Not a lot of companies doing integrals these days because it is hard to do, but We does a phenomenal job. And I'm really digging this particular finish as well. It's their polished gray finish. So it's not just a flat look. You've got some areas that feel a little bit brighter, a little bit darker, a little bit brushed, a little bit smoky, which is really cool. You can also see it attracts fingerprints pretty readily, but hey, there you go. It's a cool design. It's a big design. You've got a 4-inch M390 blade, compound ground drop point. You can see two different levels of flat grind on that knife, which shares the same essentially the same finish with the handle. Nice chunky thumb studs. I haven't actually tried to open it with the thumb studs yet. The flipper works great. Feels wonderful. And I like how clean the closed profile is here at the top too. That's a nice little detail. Let's try the thumb studs though. Pops nicely. That's just very cool. Everything about it is super sleek. Even the branding is very minimal. The blade itself is unmarked except for really itty bitty M390 letters right there. You're never going to notice them. And the only We logo is their very minimalist 6-line logo here on the clip. I'm very happy with that. Very nice. Bringing things back down to the budget realm, we've got some 3 CIVIVIs to take a look at. This is the Tacticorix. Versions starting at about $67. This one is $67.75. 3.7-inch Nitro V blade steel. Good stuff. I like how tough Nitro V is, especially on a knife like this with a very thin hollow grind. And as such, that edge itself is very thin. That extra toughness is going to be a nice thing. It's a very stainless steel as well. Holds an edge decently well too, I would say. Of course, it's not going to equal your MagnaCut, since we talked about that trio of characteristics earlier, but good to have options. And good to have options in the budget range here too. It's a cool blade shape. Despite that thin grind, it feels like it's ready for bigger cuts. Blade itself, however, nice and thin as well. So it wouldn't be something I'm wrenching or prying with, but big, slicey cuts. I like the idea of this knife. And the handle material here, this one I think is the most interesting. They're calling it shredded gray G10. It's not just, flat layers of G10. It's, chewed up G10 that it was essentially reconstituted or repressed. I'm not sure, but it has a cool look and it has a cool texture too, the way they finish it. A bit of a matte thing going on. Almost feels like paper micarta. But of course we know it isn't because it is G10. Apart from that, we've got the list essentially of CIVIVI's greatest hits, as I like to call them. You've got a liner lock, you've got a ball bearing pivot, you've got a flipper, and you've got a reversible deep carry pocket clip right there. The only one of the quote-unquote greatest hits they established in their playbook a couple years ago would be the D2 steel. Here you've got the upgrade to that stainless Nitro V. Flipping action is great. Thumb stud action is great as well. Next up is a really cool style exercise, the Biophase from CIVIVI, coming in just under $80 with a 3.5-inch Nitro V blade. Clip point, clearly, stylized clip point for sure, but a clip point with that hollow grind and very thin edge, or very thin geometry behind the edge, which they do so well. The handles are actually 2-piece on each side. You've got a layer of aluminum and a layer of G10 on top of it, which is pretty cool, creates a very distinctive look. And how does it feel in the hand? It feels pretty decent, surprisingly. For me, in my hand size, I think this point right here gets a little bit in the way. It's not really sharp, but I do feel it on my, middle finger there if I'm really gripping this knife. But this is not, in my opinion anyway, intended to go after that hard use knife category. It just looks awesome. It's built very well. You still have great cutting geometry. I think you could make a pretty cool budget alternative to something like the ADV Scavenger. If you can't afford one of those, maybe check out one of these. A Scavenger, interestingly, one of those other integrals on the market. One more from CIVIVI now. We've got a new version of the Vision FG designed by Snex. Just under $85 for this with polished Lexan handles. I say polished, but it does have kind of micro-milled lines in it. But it's cool to see the interior workings of a knife like this, and especially if you don't like the yellow color of most Ultim handle scales, this gives you an alternative there. You're not seeing too much on this knife due to the full-length liners, but you do see a little bit. Blade itself is Nitro V again, about 3.5 inches again, and a two-tone finish here. You've got stone-washed flats and satin grinds on this knife. This is an ambidextrous knife. You've got the super lock there at the back. Lets you do the wrist flick, open or close. You've also got thumb studs to open it if you'd rather do it that way. And you've got a reversible deep carry pocket clip as well. This is a pretty cool working knife, that kind of modified Wharncliffe style blade, or reverse tanto as the website calls it.
And I will.
Is just a great utility shape. And due to the original custom knife that this was based on being intended to, to cut fruits, basically, there's some food prep applications to this, even if you want to look at it that way. You've got a little bit of knuckle clearance, you've got a gently rocking edge right there. You could do some work on a surface, whether it's a cutting board or more kind of mundane stuff, work around the house, that sort of thing. It'd do a very good job of that sort of thing too. If you prefer an upgraded steel, I should just mention, just because we showed it a week or two ago, so I don't need to show it again, but our exclusive version of this knife with the carbon fiber handles, full carbon fiber, not just with a laminate, and S35VN steel is in stock as well. Next up, we've got the Kansept knives Tuckamore. That's Kansept spelled like Kansept with a K. I hate having to do that. The Tuckamore, it's a Jonathan Styles design. It starts around the $180 mark. This version is the fanciest version that we've just dropped, and I thought it looked really good. This one's coming in at about $363. You got a 3.5 inch 20 CV blade in this case, stone washed finish, straight up sheep's foot shape going on, but I shouldn't say straight up because you got some stylishness going on with the spine that you don't always see on sheep's foot blades, but the tip is pure sheep's foot and the edge being completely straight also fits the bill. Handles are titanium. We've got Timascus inlays, large Timascus inlays front and back on this knife, which definitely drives up the price, and a nice long milled pocket clip as well. Actually, I misspoke. There is a fancier version than this for not too much more money, coming in about $387 or $388. You can get essentially this makeup, but with a non-blackened titanium and with a Damascus blade. And at that price, that's only slight difference in price. I'm gonna guess that's not a Damas steel blade on that, but I don't know for sure. Feel in the hand is pretty good. The handle itself, actually, I'm really enjoying that shape. That index finger groove is broad enough that it's not restrictive if your hand or your finger size doesn't quite fit that shape. And the rest of it is very straightforward and contoured as well, so it fits in there pretty nicely. Let's check out the opening action. Lockup was rock solid, I should mention. We've got ball bearings in the pivot, reverse flicks very nicely, or you could do a standard thumb open if you don't want to be quite so flashy. Next up, we've got new versions of the Kansept Loki. Changed up the opening method. They used to have kind of a milled or cut out arc in the blade. Now we've got a more conventional elliptical opening hole, that oval shape there. And all three of these new versions that we've got in stock right now with that opening hole are coming in at about $167. You can get it with S35VN or the Damascus blade right here. Again, not a Damas steel product here. Definitely not at this price. Blade itself is just under 3 inches long, and technically I'd call that a harpoon tip. Hey, we even called that on the website, so how about that? Not a reverse tanto, Thomas.
Next time.
Saber height flat grind, very acute tip, a bit of a drop to the edge. Actually, that is a pretty cool look going on right there. It doesn't quite give you the knuckle clearance you might want to use this as a food prepping knife. It's a little on the small side for that anyway. I suppose it could be done. You're not really getting all the use of the the heel though, because you are going to bang into the handle before that can make full contact. It's more just to be a cool shape and a utilitarian blade as well. Handles are titanium, that bronze finish here with a frag pattern. Frame lock with nice strong lockup. Ball bearings in the pivot. Let us open it, shall we? Really nice flick open. Did I mention the designer on this? No, Stephen Dunnock, worthy of mention. Milled titanium pocket clip, no external screw visible there. You do see a little bit of unevenness on the bottom because they didn't leave a sort of flat portion around the milled frag texture, so you can actually get your fingernail under the clip right there. Not going to affect the utility of it, of course, but just something to point out anyway. Next up, some more affordable knives. The QSP Turtle Punk. What a name. Coming in at $88. And the shape kind of intrigues me here. The blade itself is 3.5 inches long. It's a tanto, but it's also this kind of elliptical shape you don't often see with this type of tip on a knife. Interesting. 14C 28N blade steel, similar to Nitro V in that it is very tough. It is pretty darn stainless and holds an edge pretty decently as well. Full flat grind with the more robust flat grind on the tip section right there. And there's that elliptical nature of the blade, like slightly faceted elliptical nature. It's kind of carried through into the handle as well, which in this case is G10 with a little bit of a rock or a diamond pattern on it. I'm not sure what I would call that actually, but it kind of makes me, or puts me in the mind of considering this like a folding Canadian style hunter tanto knife, if that makes any sense at all. It makes sense to me in my head anyway. I think it's intriguing. Full 4-finger grip for me on that G10 handle, and it feels pretty good, but plenty of space if you want to choke up here around the pivot area to get closer behind the edge, certainly doable as well. Deep carry pocket clip. It is reversible with a blockout plate there on the front. Let's check out the action. We got ball bearings in the pivot. By the way, that fell shut with liner lock. Nice snappy action on those thumb studs for sure. Everything here feels really nicely put together. The price is pretty darn good too for a rather distinctive looking knife that you could get some hard work done without looking like the next guy. In some ways, this next knife, this slip joint from RoseCraft, the Tanasi Lake teardrop jack, also kind of feels vaguely Canadian hunter as well. But the RoseCraft slip joints, if you're not familiar with them yet, you should be, because they're delivering great value and very, very nicely done knives for the price. This one's coming in just under 60 bucks. A sub 3-inch blade with D2 blade steel, so you got much more edge retention than most traditional slip joints in this price range. Full flat grind on that should work nicely. You got the long pull to be able to open it quite easily as well. Beautiful blue bone on this knife front and back with the, we'll call that an acorn shield there on the front. It's pretty nice. Walk and talk, it's got it. Nothing to complain about there. Easy to open, but has that nice snap that you want. We've also got a new moose pattern RoseCraft in, which is called the Mosquito Lake. And I'm a fan of moose patterns because I'm a fan of Nessmuck. Surprised anyone at all? No, of course not. The moose pattern blade, which traditionally I'm used to seeing them with a less curvaceous handle. They're usually a little more maybe cigar shaped, but you've got a large drop point and a large clip point on opposite ends. That's basically it. That's your moose. And the moose pattern knife was one of the Nessmuck trio. You know, the other parts being the Nessmuck style fixed blade and a double bit hatchet, which is a great outdoors combo. But you don't see a lot of moose knives on the market anymore, so I'm very pleased. This one, if this previous knife here was $59.99, this knife right here at $63.99 is a lot of value, because not only is it significantly bigger, as you can see, you've also got the 2 blades, so that's cool. The handles are moss brown bone and rather beautiful. Walk and talk is likewise excellent. What you get because of this curvaceous handle is a very downturned blade when gripped kind of in that standard fashion. Would make this drop point blade especially great for those skinning types of tasks, which this might have been employed in, or food prep, or even just camp eating. Gives you full access to that belly at this angle as you're cutting through stuff without having to work your wrist too hard. And then for the other blade, the angle is still there, but slightly less, I would say. Yeah, definitely still there though. But yeah, two great hardworking blade shapes. D2 is going to do a lot for you. And this price and finishing level is quite good. Well, that gives me a perfect reason to segue to this next knife. It's a new version of the BK19 from Ka-Bar and Becker. Their take on a Nessmuk style blade. It's a little more pointy than a lot of Nessmuks on the market, but it still has that flair, has that ballpark of design language to it. Coming in about 124 for this knife. US made, 4.3 inches on the blade with a full flat grind, 5/32 or so of an inch thick. Great slicer, great all-around camp shape, even if you're not going to use this for hunting, which the traditional Nessmuk might have been employed in. It's still going to do a good job at that, don't get me wrong though. The handles are injection molded with that awesome mid-size Ethan Becker handle shape and flare. Feels great in my slightly larger than average hands. It's ready to work and is not going to twist around on you either. And then the pièce de résistance on this knife is definitely the sheath. Clicks in really nicely. You've got a lot of parts here going on, but it's very stable. It's this belt attachment loop here is reversible, so you can flip it around quite easily. And you could very easily rig up a tech lock or other aftermarket sheath options or attachment options thanks to the hole and slot style of arrangements right here. And if you weren't aware, your BK16 will fit in this as well if you got one of those lying around. That's always an extra nice thing as well. Forgot to mention the steel. Good, reliable 1095 CV, as is classic for the standard Becker lineup. Time proven for sure. If you want a stainless steel, however, check out this next knife. This is the American Tomahawk Company Scout with a 4 3/4 inch clip point blade in Nitro V. We've already talked about that steel today. $245 for this. Saber height flat grind here. Bit of a, I guess you would call that a stonewashed finish. It's not a super heavy stonewash, but that's pretty cool. You've got a long swedge. You could probably get away with calling that a false edge. It's coming to a very nice, a very close tip, or a very close apex, I should say. If you wanted to put an edge on that, you wouldn't have to work very hard at all. So you could make that double-edged if you wanted to, if that's gonna help you in your outdooring type uses, or whatever. I think this kind of is a design that blends, you know, just all around outdoor uses with a bit of tactical influence as well, which, you know, that tends to be where I think of the survival knife genre as sitting. So there you go, this could be an option for you. The handles are G10 bolted on. They're a little bit more compact than the Becker we just talked about. I've got enough room there, but just, and the angle kicking down makes me feel just a touch cramped. I'm talking like 5% at least for my hands. Again, your mileage will, of course, vary. It feels super stout, though. What's the thickness there? It's about 3/16 of an inch thick, I would say. Let me check. The specs, just shy of it, so almost there. The sheath for this knife is Kydex, and it comes set up out of the box for horizontal carry, actually, with these two straps here, with the pull the dot snap, which means they only come unsnapped when pulled in the correct direction, which is good if you're going through stuff. Not gonna come off on you there. As far as other options, if you wanted to rig up a tech lock, since that's the standard test I look at, let's see, yeah, no problem. Standard tech lock style hole spacing will work just fine on this sheath right here. Two more fixed blades to look at. Veering, actually this is a pretty good progression. You've got the Nessmuk, which is outdoorsy, but maybe a little bit more tactical than some Nessmuks. You got the Scout, which is outdoor and tactical fused quite well. And we're gonna end with some straight up tactical. First is the Toor Knives Specter. US made, $350 with an M4 blade, which is gonna be very nice for its toughness, especially on a blade like this where you've got that very acute tip right there. You want as much strength behind that as you can muster without losing the piercing capability. So the M4 is definitely a good choice here. Handle itself is perfectly symmetrical, as is the double edge there. So no matter which way you grab this, you are going to be able to engage the edge towards what you need to cut quite easily. Handles are black G10. They've got a good shape to them, a little bit of swell. I like the sort of chevron milling radiating out from that central pivot or central screw as well. It feels very, very good in the hand, I would say. And all the fitment and finish levels of this are very good. Now the sheath is Kydex, but it is padded, which is pretty cool. Here's what I mean, listen. It's gonna be much more silent than your average Kydex sheath. That's pretty cool. If you want to attach it to your belt, however, unfortunately they don't include something in the box. You'll need something like a large tech lock to do that. And last but not least, we've got the new XL version of the compact clearance from Halfbreed blades with a just over 5-inch D2 blade. You can get it in a few different flavors. You can get it in this peanut butter flavor, in addition to a black licorice flavor, and you can even get it in a cherry flavor, but that version is going to be the trainer, however. $245 for this bad boy right here. Not double-edged. You have a single edge with several serrations here at the heel section of the blade and a finger ring for retention there, either with your pinky or your index finger, depending on how you want to grip that knife. It's plenty wide. Even if you're wearing a pair of combat gloves, you should have no problem getting in there. Feels all right in a reverse grip, and as far as the your standard forward grip, it's kind of kinking the blade backwards a little bit. So I think for a forward grip, you might want to not use the finger ring, and that's going to give you more of that utility style or utility usage of the knife, whereas your tactical uses go reverse. Like the Toor, everything here, fitment and finish-wise, feels great. Definitely feels durable, and the sheath, in typical Halfbreed fashion, they do a very complete package when it comes to the sheath. It's injection molded, as you can see, but the click in is quite nice, and it is reversible as well, so it works on either side of the body. Comes with a single dots style, like that Alice strap or Molly strap thing. There's a word, I'm forgetting it, I apologize, but that single row dot style strap. The sheath itself is actually threaded. You can see with these Phillips head screws right here, and so you can very easily swap something out, and in fact, they include a more full size or standard size dots style attachment, which mimics, of course, the blade tech lock style of shape. So really complete package right out of the box, priced at $245. All right, that's all I've got to show you this week. Make sure to let me know what you thought of the knives down in the comment section, and to get your hands on any of them, click the links in the description to take you to KnifeCenter.com. Don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program while you're there, because the least thing we can do when you buy one of our knives today is give you some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera, and we are signing out. See you next time.